So what do I mean when I say math isn't science and science isn't math? Well, science is a method by which we observe the universe and draw conclusions about those observations. Math, however, is the art of finding and examining the patterns that exist in our numerical language. Math is a very important tool for science, it's a very important tool for everything, like building a house. But it is not synonymous with science, and it's important to understand that when you're talking about science. Like, here's an example of a science experiment that does not involve math. You can have a particular medium, and you can hypothesize that if you shine light through that medium, it will exit the medium as visible green light. You can do that experiment without doing any math. You could hypothesize that if you dropped your burger on the ground, your dog would come by and eat it. You can do that experiment with no math. Again, science is about the observations and the experiments and the conclusions. Math is just a good tool to do those experiments. Similarly, here's some math without science. 2 plus 2 equals 4. That's true, but it doesn't correspond to anything in reality. We have examined that numerical pattern, but it doesn't mean anything in the real world. For a more advanced example, let's talk about higher dimensional mathematics. We know how to do math in, say, 7 dimensions. Heck, we know how to do math in 137 dimensions. But that doesn't mean that a 7-dimensional or a 137-dimensional object exists anywhere in the universe. If we were to observe one, then that math would become a good tool for the science we would do on that object. But until we do, that 137-dimension math is not science. It's just math. And this comes into play when people are like, well, you say in physics that the 4th dimension is time, but doesn't math tell us that the 4th dimension is a tesseract or something like that? Again, math is math, science is science. The computations of 4 spatial dimensions that we do in math do not necessarily correspond to the observations we take in the real world where we treat a 4th dimension as time. Many of them do, but it's not one-to-one. For example, time doesn't look like a 4D cube. Similarly, people will often use math to try and prove a science thing that there is no correspondence in reality for. Like the video that this was posted on, people who believe in flat Earth will try to prove that flat Earth is plausible because it's accelerating up at a constant speed, but that completely ignores relativity. But then they're like, no, look, I did the math. The math works, so everything should work. First of all, that math is often mistaken, and second of all, the math doesn't work because it does not correspond to reality. Math and science are not the same thing. Math can be a useful tool for science, but they are not the same thing.